Ever wonder what life was really like in the Middle Ages beyond the knights and castles? What if we told you that hidden behind the workshops and bustling market squares of 12th to 15th century Europe, there were stories of passion, sacrifice, and unbreakable bonds? Prepare to uncover 8 tales of love and loyalty that defied the dusty ledgers and whispered to the medieval guilds. Number 1. The Goldsmith's Secret Heart. In the year of our Lord 1342, the city of Florence hummed with the clinking of hammers and the shouts of vendors. Down a narrow lane tucked between a tannery and a spice merchant's stall stood the workshop of Master Ugo, a goldsmith whose skill with precious metals was legendary. Master Ugo was a stern man, his brow often furrowed with the weight of gold and responsibility, but his heart, unbeknownst to many, held a tenderness reserved for his 2 apprentices, Pietro and Isabella. Pietro, a strapping young man with a laugh that could lighten any room, had been with Master Ugo since he was a scrawny 12-year-old learning the intricate art of filigree and granulation. Isabella, Ugo's orphan niece, was an unusual presence in a male-dominated craft, but her nimble fingers and keen eye for design had quickly proven her worth. She was not a sworn apprentice in the formal sense, but she learned alongside Pietro her quiet diligence, a stark contrast to his boisterous energy. The Goldsmiths Guild of Florence was known for its strict rules, especially concerning the transmission of skills. Trade secrets were guarded fiercely, passed down from master to sworn apprentice, ensuring the quality and reputation of Florentine goldwork. No master would willingly allow his precious knowledge to fall into the wrong hands, and no apprentice would dare betray the trust placed in him. Pietro had sworn a solemn oath upon joining the guild, vowing loyalty to Master Ugo and the guild itself, promising to uphold its standards and never reveal its techniques to outsiders. This oath was not merely words. It was a binding promise that shaped his entire life within the guild's structure, affecting his progression from apprentice to journeyman, and eventually he hoped to master. The guild oversaw every aspect of his training, from the hours he kept to the quality of his work, ensuring he learned the trade thoroughly and ethically. Isabella, despite her talent, was not officially part of this sworn brotherhood. She learned through observation and practice, often staying late to polish pieces or prepare the alloys. It was during these quiet evening hours that Pietro and Isabella's friendship deepened, morphing into something warmer, something that felt like the pure gold they so carefully worked. They spoke of dreams, of designs for jewelry that no one had yet dared to attempt, of a future where they could create beauty together. This love, however, was a secret hidden from Master Ugo, and more importantly from the watchful eyes of the guild elders. A match between an apprentice who had yet to earn his freedom and prove himself worthy of mastership, and a woman not formally bound by the guild's traditional structures, was frowned upon. Guilds often had rules about marriage, encouraging apprentices to wait until they were established, or even dictating who they could marry to maintain social and economic stability within the guild. One winter, a rival master from Siena, Master Anselmo, arrived in Florence, boasting of a new technique for crafting intricate lightweight chains that seemed to float like spun air. Florentine goldsmiths, renowned for their heavy, opulent pieces, found their commissions dwindling. Master Ugo was particularly vexed, his own customers beginning to ask for these ethereal Sienese chains. He knew Anselmo had somehow achieved a level of fineness that defied their current methods. The guild held emergency meetings discussing ways to counter this new competition. The reputation of Florentine goldwork was on the line. They suspected a new alloy, a unique annealing process, or perhaps a secret tool. The guild elders, deeply concerned about the economic impact on their members, even offered a hefty sum to anyone who could discover Anselmo's secret. Pietro, overhearing the frantic discussions, felt a surge of loyalty to Master Ugo and his guild. He knew the pressure his master was under, the fear that their esteemed craft was losing its edge. He also saw Isabella's quiet distress, her worried glances at Ugo. One evening, as the city slept, Pietro crept out. His heart pounded with a mix of daring and fear. He knew Master Anselmo stayed in a small lodging house on the edge of the market square. Pietro, using the skills he had learned navigating the winding Florentine alleyways, managed to slip into the back of Anselmo's temporary workshop. The master, too, confident or perhaps too tired, had left a few pieces of his work out alongside some tools. Pietro examined a half-finished chain, feeling its astonishing lightness. He noticed a faint, almost invisible scratch mark near a joint, and a strange, subtle sheen on the surface of the metal. He carefully made a small mental note, his mind racing to connect the dots to techniques he knew. He returned to Master Ugo's workshop before dawn, his mind buzzing. He told Isabella what he had done, confessing his risky venture. Isabella, though initially terrified for his safety, listened intently as he described the Sienese chain. Her eyes, sharp and perceptive, caught on a detail he mentioned. The faint scratch mark. She remembered an old technique almost forgotten for drawing very fine gold wire through a specially prepared draw plate, a method that left a particular telltale mark. It required a unique blend of gold alloy, softer than usual, and a precise annealing temperature which explained the unusual sheen. Together, they spent the next few days in secret, experimenting with various alloys and annealing times, using an old, rarely used draw plate Isabella had once cleaned. Their quiet collaboration, fueled by their shared love for the craft and their growing love for each other, was intense. They worked meticulously late into the nights, whispering theories and adjusting their tiny furnace. Finally, after days of painstaking effort, they produced a chain lighter and more delicate than anything Master Ugo had ever seen from his own workshop, yet perfectly matching the Sienese quality, the unique blend of loyalty. Pietro's to his master and guild, Isabella's to her uncle, and the craft she had come to love had pushed them. But now came the difficult part. Pietro had broken a guild rule by spying, however well-intentioned, and Isabella's involvement as an unsworn woman could be seen as an even greater breach of guild tradition. The guild prized strict adherence to its rules and the integrity of its knowledge. Sharing such a secret, even with a loved one not officially bound by guild oaths, was unheard of. Pietro, however, knew he had to be honest. He approached Master Ugo, laying the newly crafted chain on the workbench. He explained how he had seen Anselmo's work, and how Isabella, with her incredible insight, had helped him crack the technique. Master Ugo picked up the chain, his fingers tracing its delicate links. His stern face softened, a rare sight. He looked at Pietro, then at Isabella, who stood quietly beside him, her heart thumping. He knew Pietro had risked much, and Isabella, though not formally bound, had shown an immense dedication. The guild's rules about knowledge transmission were strict, but so was their understanding of what served the guild's greater good. Protecting the Florentine reputation was paramount. Master Ugo called an emergency meeting of the guild elders. He presented the chain, explaining how the Sienese secret had been unraveled. He spoke of Pietro's daring and, crucially, Isabella's unique contribution, framing it as a testament to Florentine ingenuity nurtured within his own workshop. He did not dwell on the methods of discovery, but focused on the outcome. The elders, seeing the superior quality of the chain and the immediate threat to their livelihoods averted, were impressed. They saw not a breach of protocol, but a solution to a serious problem. A true act of loyalty to the guild's future. They knew that such knowledge, once released, could benefit all Florentine goldsmiths. In a rare move, the guild praised Pietro for his courage, and recognizing Isabella's undeniable talent and essential role in the discovery, they granted her an honorary status, allowing her to work officially within Master Ugo's workshop. This was almost unheard of for a woman, but her loyalty to the craft and her undeniable skill had earned her a place. Pietro, too, was recognized. His actions, though risky, had been driven by a deep sense of loyalty to his master and the guild. He was swiftly promoted to journeyman, and a path was cleared for his mastership. The love between Pietro and Isabella, once a secret, now had a quiet blessing within the workshop. They continued to work side by side, their hands shaping gold, their hearts intertwined, knowing that their shared loyalty had not only saved their guild's reputation, but it also forged a stronger, more lasting bond between them than any piece of gold could ever represent. Their story became a quiet legend among the goldsmiths, whispered as an example of how true dedication, even when it bent the rules, could serve the highest good. Number 2. The baker's sacrifice. The bells of St. Michael's Church rang out across the cobbled streets of Norwich in the year 1378, signaling the arrival of a harsh winter. For the bakers of Norwich, represented by their formidable guild, the cold meant more than chattering teeth. It meant rising flour prices, frozen waterways, hindering grain transport, and the looming specter of hunger among the city's poor. Master Thomas, a burly baker with flour perpetually dusting his beard, was a man of his community. His bakery, famed for its crusty sourdough loaves and sweet honey cakes, had been in his family for generations, and his loyalty extended beyond his hearth to every soul who lived in the city. His apprentice, young Edmund, was a quiet, diligent lad whose family lived just a few streets away. And Edmund understood the struggles of the working folk, having come from humble origins himself. The Bakers' Guild of Norwich was more than just a regulatory body. It was a pillar of the community. Guild rules dictated the price and weight of loaves to prevent price gouging, ensuring fair trade, even in difficult times. They also mandated quality standards, punishing bakers who tried to stretch their flour with cheaper, less wholesome grains. This strict oversight was meant to protect both the baker's reputation and the public's welfare. During times of scarcity, the guild often organized charity drives, pooling resources to provide bread for the needy, demonstrating their social responsibility beyond mere commerce. Master Thomas, as one of the oldest and most respected masters, often championed these efforts, believing that a guild's strength lay in its compassion for its members and its community. As the winter deepened, so did the city's plight. Grain wagons struggled through snow-choked roads, and supplies dwindled. The city was facing a severe bread shortage. Fear began to ripple through the populace. The price of flour, despite the guild's best efforts to control it, soared on the black market, making it nearly impossible for many to afford basic sustenance. Master Thomas, watching the dwindling sacks of flour in his storeroom, knew he had to act. He had enough flour to bake for his paying customers for another week, perhaps 2, before his supplies ran out completely. After that, he would have to turn people away, including Edmund's own family, who relied on the guild's charitable provisions. One morning he saw Alara, a young widow from the poorest part of the city, standing outside his shop, her face pale with cold and worry. She had 2 small children, and her usual coin purse was empty. Master Thomas knew that many like Alara would soon face starvation. He felt a deep pull of loyalty, not just to his guild, but to the very people it was sworn to protect. He remembered the guild's ancient oath spoken at every meeting about ensuring the city was fed. He believed that the guild's true purpose was to serve, not just to profit. That night, Master Thomas made a decision. He would bake for the needy, even if it meant sacrificing his own stock and reputation. He gathered Edmund and explained his plan. "We will bake for the folk who have nothing," he declared, his voice firm. "We will give away what we have until our own supplies run dry." Edmund, though surprised, understood the gravity of his master's decision. It was an act of profound self-sacrifice that went beyond any guild mandate, an act born of love for his fellow citizens. Together, they began to bake. They worked through the night, kneading dough, stoking the ovens, the warmth of the bakery a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. The scent of fresh bread, usually a source of comfort, now carried a poignant urgency. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Master Thomas opened his shop, not for customers with coins, but for anyone in need. Word spread quickly through the city, carried on the frosty air. Lines of shivering, grateful people formed outside his bakery. Master Thomas and Edmund handed out warm loaves, their faces grim but resolute. They refused payment, simply offering sustenance to those who had nothing. The guild elders, hearing of Master Thomas's actions, were initially perplexed. Some lauded his generosity, while others worried about the precedent this would set and the potential financial ruin for a master who had already paid his dues to the guild's common fund. A few even grumbled about how his actions disrupted the very pricing rules they had worked so hard to maintain. One particularly severe elder, Master Alaric, a man known for his rigid adherence to guild regulations, approached Master Thomas. "Brother Thomas," Alaric began, his voice tight with disapproval, "you are giving away your stock. This is not charity from the common fund. This is your own private action. How will you maintain your business? You risk bringing discredit upon the guild by failing to uphold your own solvency." "Brother Alaric," he said, his voice quiet but firm, "what good is solvency if our neighbors starve? The guild's first loyalty is to the welfare of the city. We swear an oath to provide bread for the people. This is how I uphold that oath, with what I have been given." For days, Master Thomas and Edmund continued their selfless work. The city's granaries were almost empty, and no new grain wagons arrived. Other bakers, watching Thomas's actions, felt conflicted. Some felt a pang of guilt, while others feared for their own businesses. Many knew they could not afford such a sacrifice, given their own families and commitments. The sheer scale of Master Thomas's generosity, the undeniable suffering he was alleviating, began to shift the mood within the guild. Edmund, watching his master, felt a new depth of respect. He saw that true loyalty was not just about following rules, but about responding to the needs of others, even when it meant personal hardship. He needed dough with renewed vigor, understanding that his own actions, however small, contributed to a greater good. Just as Master Thomas's last sack of flour was opened, a cheer erupted from the city gates. A convoy of merchant ships laden with grain had finally broken through the frozen river, bringing desperately needed supplies from abroad. The news swept to the city. Like wildfire, relief washed over the city. The crisis was averted. Nature, while he had technically disregarded some financial rules by depleting his own stock, his deep loyalty to the spirit of the guild's mission and his profound act of public service could not be ignored. His generosity had not only saved countless lives, but had also fostered an immense goodwill towards the Bakers' Guild, solidifying its reputation as a compassionate and essential institution in the city. The guild, recognizing the extraordinary nature of his sacrifice, voted to reimburse Master Thomas for the flour he had given away, drawing from the common fund, a decision almost unprecedented. They also decreed that in times of future hardship, the guild would create a special fund specifically for such acts of emergency charity, inspired by Master Thomas's example. His active love for his community had fundamentally changed the guild's charitable practices, moving it beyond mere regulation to active selfless service. Master Thomas, though weary, felt a deep sense of peace. His loyalty to his neighbors and his love for his community had triumphed. Edmund, watching the grateful faces of the people, knew he had chosen the right master. He saw that the true strength of a guild lay not just in its craft, but in the heart of its members, and that a single act of profound love could inspire an entire community. The tale of the baker's sacrifice became a cornerstone of the Norwich Guild's history, a quiet reminder that devotion to one another was the finest grain of all. Number 3. The Mason's Broken Oath. York, in the year 1405, was a city of soaring ambitions, nowhere more evident than in the rising walls of its magnificent new cathedral. The Masons' Guild, a powerful and ancient body, oversaw every chisel stroke, every block of stone. Master Alaric, a stern but brilliant craftsman, led the team responsible for the cathedral's northern transept. His apprentice, Gareth, was a quiet, diligent young man, his hands already showing the calluses and precision of a true stonemason. Gareth loved the grandeur of the cathedral, the way the light played on the freshly carved stone, and the shared camaraderie of the masons, all working towards a common monumental goal. He had sworn an oath of loyalty to Master Alaric, promising to honor his teachings and uphold the guild's centuries-old secrets of geometry and construction. This oath was central to a mason's life, binding them to their master and to the craft's integrity. The Masons' Guild was renowned for its strict adherence to quality and its meticulous training. Apprentices spent years learning the properties of different stones, the techniques of carving, and the precise measurements necessary for monumental architecture. They learned the secret signs and words, the masons' marks used to identify their work, and the intricate geometric patterns that underpinned their designs. These secrets were passed down carefully, ensuring that only skilled and trustworthy hands built the great structures of the age. Disputes within the guild were rare, resolved by the master mason and the guild elders, ensuring harmony and collective purpose in their grand projects. Gareth, like all apprentices, aspired to the day he would become a journeyman, then a master, his own mark signifying his skill and dedication. Master Alaric had a daughter, Ilara, whose beauty was as striking as the finest carved gargoyle, but it was her quick wit and intelligent questions about architectural drawings that truly captivated Gareth. She often brought midday meals to the workshop, her presence a welcome spark in the dusty, laborious work. Gareth found himself drawn to her, their conversations extending beyond simple pleasantries to shared dreams and quiet observations about the world. Guild traditions, especially in the more conservative crafts, like masonry, often discouraged apprentices from forming serious attachments. An apprentice was expected to devote his full attention to his craft, to serve his master wholeheartedly, and to wait until he was a freed journeyman, or even a master, before considering marriage. Master Alaric, a staunch traditionalist, would certainly disapprove of any such distraction for his most promising apprentice. One day, a section of scaffolding collapsed at the cathedral site, causing a panic. While no one was seriously injured, a crucial load-bearing arch, a design entrusted to Master Alaric, sustained significant damage. An investigation by the guild elders quickly revealed a fault in the calculations for the arch's support. Blame quickly fell upon Master Alaric. The reputation of the Masons' Guild and Alaric's own standing hung in the balance. Cathedral Chapter. The church officials overseeing the construction were furious, threatening to halt payments and even bring in masons from a rival city, Durham, known for its strict adherence to calculation. This was a direct threat to the York Guild's honor and economic well-being. Gareth, working late one evening, was rechecking some of Alaric's calculations for another section of the transept, simply as an exercise, as he often did to improve his own skills. He noticed a small, almost imperceptible error in an old set of plans, a transposition of two numbers in a complex stress calculation. It was a mistake, so tiny, so easily overlooked, that only a mind deeply immersed in the nuances of geometric stress like Gareth's would catch it. He realized with a sickening jolt that this error, if it existed in the damaged arch's plans, could explain the collapse. It was a flaw that would be devastating to Master Alaric's reputation, and potentially to the entire guild, as it implied a fundamental lapse in judgment at the highest level. He knew he should report it to the guild elders that upholding the integrity of the craft was paramount. His oath of loyalty to the guild demanded it. But his heart ached at the thought of publicly implicating Master Alaric, the man who had taught him everything, the father of the woman he was coming to love. His loyalty to Alaric, a personal devotion, clashed fiercely with his professional obligation to the guild's strict standards of perfection. His love for Ilara further complicated things. Exposing her father could shatter any hope of a future with her. He paced the workshop floor, the dusty plans spread before him like a judgment. He knew the strict rules of the guild regarding errors and negligence. A master found responsible for such a serious structural flaw could face severe penalties, including fines, loss of mastership, or even expulsion from the guild, which meant ruin. He finally confessed his discovery to Ilara. She listened, her face paling as he explained the complex calculations and the almost invisible error. Her love for her father was absolute, but her intellect also grasped the severity of the flaw. She knew what this meant for Alaric and for the guild's honor. Together they looked at the plans, their heads bent close, their worry a shared burden. Ilara, with her own understanding of her father's methods, noticed something else. a subtle difference in the quality of the parchment on one of the plans Master Alaric had used. It was an older, slightly cheaper parchment, not the high-quality vellum he usually used for critical structural drawings. This was a tiny detail, but it sparked a thought. Ilara remembered a time years ago when her father had taken on an older failing master's apprentice, a man named Bertram, after his original master had died. Bertram, though skilled, had been known for rushing his preliminary sketches and sometimes using less expensive materials for his drafts. Could this particular flawed calculation have originated from Bertram's early work, which Alaric, in his trust, might have incorporated into the final plans without thorough re-verification? Assuming Bertram's competence, the guild, in its benevolent role, often took in apprentices from deceased masters, ensuring their continued training. Bertram, after a brief period with Master Alaric, had moved to another city. Gareth and Ilara realized this was a possibility, shifted the blame, not entirely from Alaric, but from a deliberate or gross error to a tragic oversight. It was a slim thread, but it offered a chance. They decided to present their findings to Master Alaric himself before going to the guild. It was a risky move, circumventing the formal process, but it demonstrated their deep personal loyalty to him. They laid out the old plans, pointing to the subtle error in the different parchment. Master Alaric, a man of rigid integrity, initially bristled at the implication of a flaw in his work, but as he examined the plans, his brow furrowed. He remembered Bertram, his early drafts, and a particular rushed period of work. A look of dawning horror, then quiet acceptance spread across his face. He recognized the truth in their words. Master Alaric, deeply humbled, decided to confess the full story to the guild. He did not deflect blame, but presented the facts, including the original source of the error, which, though an oversight, was still ultimately his responsibility as a supervising master. He brought Gareth and Ilara with him, not to accuse Bertram, but to show the diligent work of his apprentice and his daughter in uncovering the truth, demonstrating the guild's internal process of self-correction. The guild elders were shocked by the revelation, but also impressed by Alaric's honesty and Gareth's sharp eye. They recognized the rarity of such a precise error. They held a long and serious deliberation, weighing the implications. The integrity of the York Guild depended on admitting fault where it existed, but also on understanding the full context. Ultimately, they levied a substantial fine against Master Alaric, acknowledging his ultimate responsibility. However, they allowed him to continue his work on the cathedral, recognizing his decades of service and the unique circumstances of the error. More significantly, they praised Gareth for his extraordinary insight and diligence, even while acknowledging the unusual way the information came to light. His loyalty to his master and his craft, even when it meant risking his own standing, was clear. In an unprecedented move, they formally acknowledged Ilara's contribution, commending her sharp intellect and deep understanding of the craft. Her love for her father and her own quiet dedication had helped save his reputation, and by extension the guild. Gareth, though relieved, understood the weight of what had happened. His broken oath, technically speaking, had led to a greater truth and ultimately served the guild's long-term reputation more effectively than blind obedience might have. His bond with Ilara, forged in shared worry and intellectual collaboration, deepened considerably. Master Alaric, humbled and grateful, saw in Gareth not just a skilled apprentice, but a man of honor and quiet strength. He gave his blessing for Gareth and Ilara to pursue their courtship, recognizing that true loyalty and love could exist side by side with professional dedication. The Masons' Guild of York learned a profound lesson that day. Sometimes the path to truth and integrity and the very continuation of their honorable craft lay not just in rigid rules, but in the nuanced loyalties of the human heart. Number 4. The Weaver's Forbidden Loom. In the bustling medieval city of Bruges, in the year 1290, the air hummed with the rhythmic thud of loom. The Weavers' Guild was one of the wealthiest and most powerful in the Low Countries, its intricate woolen cloths prized across Europe. Master Romand, a man whose hands knew every thread and whose eyes could discern the finest flaws in a weave, was a respected figure within the guild. His journeyman, a young man named Adrian, was a marvel with the loom, his fingers dancing across the warp and weft, creating patterns of breathtaking complexity. Adrien came from a family of peasant farmers, a significant distance from Bruges, and had been drawn to the city by the promise of skill and opportunity. His loyalty to Master Roland was absolute, rooted in deep gratitude for the master's patient teaching and his opening of a new life path. The Weavers' Guild of Bruges had strict rules designed to protect its members and maintain its monopoly on high-quality cloth. One of the most fiercely guarded rules was the prohibition of marrying outside the guild's recognized social and economic circles. Masters and journeymen were expected to marry within the merchant class, or at least into families with connections to the trade, to ensure economic stability and to keep the guild's wealth and skills within its own ranks. Marriage to a peasant, or someone perceived as beneath their station, was seen as a threat to the guild's social standing and economic structure. Such a union could even lead to expulsion, denying the weaver the right to practice his trade in Bruges, effectively ruining his life. The guild was not just a professional body, it was a tight-knit social unit, and its rules were designed to preserve that structure. Master Roland had a daughter, Lisbeth, whose gentle spirit and keen interest in her father's craft were well known. She often visited the workshop, not merely to observe, but to learn about the intricate patterns and the dyes, her nimble fingers often helping to sort threads or prepare the looms. Adrien, initially intimidated by her higher social standing, found himself drawn to her quiet intelligence and her genuine curiosity about the craft he loved. They spoke of the subtle shades of woad and madder, of the ancient patterns passed down through generations, and of the future of weaving itself. Their shared passion for the loom soon blossomed into a tender, secret love. Adrien knew the guild's strictures. His love for Lisbeth was a direct challenge to the rules that governed his very existence. As a weaver, he was a man of his word, and his loyalty to the guild had been a cornerstone of his new life in Bruges. One day, a wealthy merchant from Ghent placed an enormous order for a specific type of tapestry, one with an incredibly complex, almost impossible design. It required a new weaving technique, one that blended multiple thread counts and colors in a way no Bruges weaver had yet achieved. Master Roland, despite his years of experience, found himself stumped. The challenge threatened his reputation and, more importantly, the guild's claim to supremacy in Flemish weaving. The guild elders convened, debating whether to even accept the order, fearing failure could tarnish their collective standing. They knew the merchant would go to Venice or Florence if Bruges could not deliver. Adrien, secretly observing Lisbeth's own sketches and experimental thread combinations, realized she had an intuitive grasp of the problem. Her mind, unburdened by the traditional guild-taught methods, saw a different path. She had been experimenting with an old, almost forgotten double weave technique. Her grandmother, also a weaver, had once mentioned in passing, which could potentially create the layered effect required. Lisbeth, seeing Adrien's struggle, quietly began to show him her ideas. They worked in secret, late into the nights, in a small hidden corner of the workshop, experimenting with different thread tensions and loom settings. Their shared love for the craft and for each other propelled them forward. Adrien's loyalty to his master and to the guild's reputation pushed him to find a solution, even if it meant bending the established methods. Finally, after weeks of painstaking work, they created a small sample that perfectly captured the desired effect. A shimmering, multi-layered tapestry that defied belief. It was Lisbeth's innovative approach, guided by Adrien's masterful execution, that had unlocked the secret. Adrien was ecstatic, but his joy was tempered by a new problem. He had to present this solution to Master Roland and the guild. If he revealed Lisbeth's role, their forbidden love would be exposed, and she, an unsworn woman, might be seen as undermining the guild's male-dominated traditions. If he claimed the discovery as his own, he would be betraying Lisbeth, the woman he loved, and committing a lie that went against his very nature. His loyalty to his master, his guild, and his love for Lisbeth were in direct conflict. Adrian, after much agonizing, decided on a path of honesty. He presented the sample to Master Roland, explaining how the breakthrough had come. He spoke of Lisbeth's unique insight and her tireless hours of experimentation, acknowledging her full role in the discovery. Master Roland, examining the magnificent sample, was first astonished by its quality, then by the revelation of his daughter's involvement. He knew the guild's rules about unmarried journeymen and about the roles of women within the craft. The guild was rigid. He loved his daughter, but also his guild, and he understood the implications of what Adrienne was confessing. Master Roland convened a meeting of the guild elders, presented the sample, and explained the new technique, crediting Adrienne's mastery and, crucially, Lisbeth's inventive spirit. The elders were speechless, both by the exquisite quality of the sample and by the astonishing news of Lisbeth's unorthodox contribution. There was immediate debate. Some argued that Lisbeth's involvement as an unsworn woman was a violation of guild customs, an interference in men's craft. Others recognized the immense value of the discovery. The contract was too large, the potential profits too great to dismiss. They had to weigh tradition against prosperity and the guild's future. Adrian, standing before the elders, spoke with quiet dignity. He affirmed Lisbeth's critical role, and then, his voice unwavering, confessed his love for her and their desire to marry. He acknowledged the guild's rule, but pleaded that their combined loyalty to the craft and their shared love had only served to uplift the guild's reputation, not diminish it. This open declaration, a public acknowledgement of forbidden love and a direct challenge to a sacred guild rule, was unprecedented. The elders were shocked by his audacity, yet impressed by his conviction. After long deliberations, the elders made a historic decision. The immediate need for the Ghent contract outweighed the traditional rule. They approved the new technique and the large order ensuring the guild's prosperity and reputation. As for Adrienne and Lisbeth, in a truly remarkable concession, the guild agreed to allow their marriage. They recognized that Lisbeth's skill and knowledge were an asset, not a detriment, and that Adrienne's profound loyalty both to the craft and to his love had benefited them all. The guild's charter was technically silent on such a unique situation, allowing them room for interpretation. They stipulated, however, that Lisbeth would be formally recognized for her contribution and permitted to work alongside Adrienne, a ground-ring allowance for a woman in a lead craft role. Adrienne and Lisbeth were married. Soon after their union, celebrated not just for love, but for the ingenuity and loyalty that had saved the guild's future. Their story became a legend in Bruges, whispered among weavers as an example of how true innovation and an unwavering heart could sometimes bend even the strictest rules, bringing new life and new possibilities to an ancient craft. The Weavers' Guild, by adapting, found itself stronger, more resilient, and more deeply respected than ever, demonstrating that loyalty to love could also be loyalty to prosperity. Number 5. The Butcher's Blood Oath. London in the year 1320 was a city of distinct smells, wood smoke, river water, and in certain districts, the unmistakable scent of freshly cut meat. The Butcher's Guild was a powerful force, controlling the city's meat supply, ensuring quality, and protecting its members. Master John, a broad-shouldered man, with hands scarred from years of wielding a cleaver, ran a prosperous butcher shop near Eastcheap. His family had been butchers for generations, and his loyalty to his kin and to the guild was absolute. His younger brother Thomas, though prone to impulsive decisions, was equally devoted to the family business, and his brother, their bond was forged in blood and bone, a common sight in family-run guild businesses where siblings often worked side by side from childhood. The Butchers' Guild of London was notorious for its strict control over the meat trade. Guild members were bound by oaths to uphold standards of hygiene, fair pricing, and honest weight. They also had a powerful system for resolving internal disputes, ensuring that quarrels between members did not undermine the guild's collective strength. Rivalry from outside butchers, especially those who tried to sell cheaper, lower quality meat from unlicensed stalls, was met with fierce resistance, and the guild often resorted to legal action or even public shaming to protect its monopoly and reputation. They were also responsible for inspecting animals, ensuring they were healthy and fit for consumption. A crucial public health role in medieval cities. One spring, a new butcher, a man named Roger, arrived in London from Essex. Roger was an ambitious man, and he set up a stall just outside the city walls, selling meat at suspiciously low prices, claiming to bypass the guild's hefty fees. His meat, however, was of questionable quality, often appearing sickly or poorly dressed. This undercut the guild members who, bound by their strict quality standards and guild dues, could not compete on price. The Butchers' Guild, already struggling with fluctuating livestock prices, saw Roger as a direct threat to their livelihood and their reputation for providing wholesome meat. This was not just about money. It was about the public's trust in their product, something guild members took very seriously, as evidenced by their regulations. Master John, as a prominent guild member, was vocal in condemning Roger. He spoke at guild meetings about the dangers of unregulated meat and the damage Roger was doing to their trade. His brother Thomas, however, saw a different path. Thomas, impulsive and hot-headed, decided to take matters into his own hands. He went to Roger's stall, not to reason, but to confront him directly. Words quickly escalated into a shouting match, then to a physical altercation. Thomas, defending his family's honor and the guild's good name, damaged some of Roger's wares, and even broke one of his display tables. He believed he was acting out of fierce loyalty to his brother and their shared craft. Roger, bleeding and enraged, immediately lodged a formal complaint with the mayor's court, accusing Thomas of assault and destruction of property. This was a grave matter. Violence between tradesmen, especially that which damaged another's business, was taken very seriously and could lead to heavy fines, imprisonment, or even public shaming, bringing disgrace upon the guild. The Butchers' Guild, already under scrutiny due to the competition from Roger, now faced a crisis of internal discipline. While they despised Roger, they could not condone open violence from one of their own, as it undermined the rule of law and the guild's own efforts to maintain order. Master John was furious with Thomas. "You have brought shame upon our house and our guild," he roared, his face flushed. "You know the rules. We handle disputes through the guild, through proper channels." Thomas chastened admitted his mistake, but stood by his intentions. "I acted for us, for our name," he pleaded, his loyalty driving his recklessness. John was torn. His love for his brother was deep, a lifetime of shared struggle and triumphs, but his loyalty to the guild and its strict codes of conduct was equally profound. He knew that if he simply defended Thomas's actions, it would be seen as condoning lawlessness and undermine the guild's authority. The guild elders' summations at Thomas's defense. The evidence was clear. Thomas had broken the law and guild rules. The guild faced a dilemma: punish Thomas severely, potentially breaking the family bond and damaging their own solidarity, or defend him and risk losing the city's trust. They were a powerful guild, but their power rested on their reputation for order and quality. The guild rules on disputes were clear. Members were expected to seek arbitration within the guild first, or through the mayor's court if necessary, not resort to private vengeance. Master John, despite his anger at Thomas's impulsiveness, decided he would stand by his brother, but not in defiance of the law. He would show his loyalty to his family by taking responsibility for Thomas's actions and demonstrate his loyalty to the guild by upholding its principles of order. He proposed a bold solution to the guild elders. He offered to personally pay for all of Roger's damages and, in an act of extraordinary public humility, offered to serve a week of unpaid labor for the guild preparing meat for the city's poorhouse as a public penance for his brother's behavior. Furthermore, he offered to personally inspect every single animal Roger brought into the city ensuring its quality before it could be sold effectively, bringing Roger under an informal, stringent quality control system. This was a remarkable show of self-sacrifice, combining personal responsibility with a strategic move to manage the threat. Roger posed. The guild elders, initially surprised, recognized the wisdom in Master John's proposal. It showed accountability, public service, and a clever way to control Roger without further conflict. It demonstrated John's unwavering loyalty to his family and, crucially, to the guild's overarching purpose of maintaining order and quality in the meat trade. They agreed to his terms. Thomas, watching his brother's actions, felt a wave of profound shame and gratitude. He saw that true loyalty was not about impulsive acts of violence, but about quiet responsibility and sacrifice. Master John paid Roger's damages, his coin purse significantly lighter. For a week he worked tirelessly at the poorhouse, his cleaver flashing with tireless precision, his back aching but his resolve firm. He also began the painstaking process of inspecting Roger's livestock, often rejecting animals that did not meet the guild's rigorous standards. This forced Roger to source better quality meat or risk having his stock seized. Gradually, Roger's prices rose and his competitive edge diminished. Public, seeing Master John's public penance and his meticulous quality control, renewed its trust in the Butchers' Guild, the guild's reputation. Initially threatened by Thomas's rashness and Roger's unethical trade, Master John's act of dual loyalty to his family and to the guild had not only saved his brother from harsher punishment, but had also secured the guild's standing in the city. Thomas, sobered by the experience, became a more responsible and thoughtful butcher. His loyalty to his brother in the guild now expressed through diligent work rather than impulsive action. The tale of Master John's sacrifice became a quiet legend among the London butchers, a reminder that while the trade might be bloody, the bonds of family and the principles of the guild were truly unbreakable. Number 6. The Tailor's Tangled Threads. Paris in the year 1455 was a vibrant hub of fashion, its cobbled streets bustling with merchants and noblemen alike. The Tailors' Guild was a powerful force, dictating styles, ensuring quality, and protecting its members from unfair competition. Nestled in a quaint street near the Hôtel de Ville was the shop of Master Pierre, a renowned tailor whose garments graced the finest courts. He ran the shop with his daughter Marie, a talented seamstress with an eye for detail, and his apprentice Antoine, a quiet but skilled young man. Antoine had come to Paris from a small village drawn by the allure of the city and the promise of a life beyond farming. His loyalty to Master Pierre and to the tailor's craft was immense. This was his chance for a new life, a path to a respected trade. Tailors' Guild of Paris held strict regulations concerning quality, pricing, and the training of apprentices. They had clear rules about customer satisfaction and dispute resolution, ensuring that the guild's reputation for fine craftsmanship remained untarnished. They also fiercely guarded their designs and techniques, punishing anyone who tried to imitate their unique Parisian styles or undercut prices. Masters and journeymen worked closely, ensuring the proper passing of skills and the maintenance of high standards. Antoine, like all apprentices, had signed a formal contract pledging his service and loyalty to Master Pierre for 7 years in exchange for training and board. Marie, Master Pierre's daughter, was not just a seamstress. She was a creative force, often sketching new designs and experimenting with different fabrics. Her quiet, artistic nature complemented her father's traditional skill. Antoine, working alongside her, found himself increasingly drawn to her passion and her sharp mind. Their shared hours over intricate embroidery and delicate seams led to a quiet, unspoken affection. However, their developing love was complicated. Antoine was still an apprentice legally bound to Master Pierre for several more years. Guild custom and simply the social realities of the time meant that an apprentice was not in a position to marry, especially not the daughter of his master. Such a union was practically unthinkable, as it would disrupt the hierarchical structure of the workshop and the social expectations within the guild. One bitter winter, a wealthy but notoriously demanding countess ordered an elaborate gown for a royal ball. The gown was to be embroidered with a rare, delicate silk thread imported at great expense. Master Pierre, known for his meticulous work, accepted the commission with pride. The embroidery was to be done by Marie and Antoine, whose combined skills with needle and thread were unmatched. They spent weeks on the intricate patterns, their heads bent close over the shimmering fabric, their quiet conversations weaving patterns of their own. Their dedication, fueled by their unspoken love, produced a garment of breathtaking beauty. Just days before the ball, the Countess arrived for a final fitting. As she admired herself in the mirror, she noticed a tiny, almost invisible knot in one of the silk threads on the sleeve, a flaw so minute it would escape all but the most discerning eye. "This is unacceptable, Master Pierre," she declared, her voice sharp with disdain. "This thread is knotted. A garment from Master Pierre's shop must be flawless. I will not accept." She threatened to refuse payment and, worse, to spread word of the shoddy craftsmanship throughout the court, a catastrophe that would ruin Master Pierre's reputation and severely damage the guild's standing. A formal complaint to the guild or the royal court would be disastrous. Master Pierre, examining the tiny knot, felt a wave of despair. It was indeed a microscopic flaw, likely from a faulty batch of the rare silk thread itself. Not a mistake in stitching, but the Countess's word was law. He knew he could try to argue, but the damage to his reputation would be done. He looked at Marie and Antoine, who stood pale and silent. He knew how much work they had poured into the gown, how carefully they had worked. He felt a fierce loyalty to them, to their effort, and to the guild's reputation for perfection. He was torn between admitting an impossible flaw or trying to hide it. Antoine, seeing the despair on Master Pierre's face and the anger on the Countess's, knew he had to act. He had been the one to prepare the threads, and he remembered a particularly tricky spool of the imported silk that had seemed unusually prone to tangling. He made a snap decision. "My lady," he said, stepping forward, his voice surprisingly firm for a quiet apprentice. "The fault is mine. I admit I mishandled the thread. My lack of skill caused this imperfection. I will repair it immediately, or Master Pierre should not be paid." Marie gasped softly. Antoine was taking the blame, sacrificing his nascent reputation as a skilled embroiderer to protect her and her father. He was risking his future with the guild, his chances of becoming a journeyman, all out of love and loyalty. Countess, taken aback by the apprentice's frank admission, paused. Master Pierre, stunned by Antoine's sacrifice, remained silent, his mind racing. He knew Antoine was protecting them. Countess, satisfied by the immediate admission of fault, softened slightly. "Very well," she said, "repair it, and quickly, and ensure it is truly flawless this time." Antoine, with trembling hands, quickly unpicked the tiny knot, and with Marie's silent, reassuring presence beside him, restitched the section perfectly. He worked with speed and precision, his heart aching but resolute. After the Countess left satisfied with the repair, Master Pierre turned to Antoine. "Why did you do that?" he asked, his voice low with emotion. Antoine, looking at Marie, simply said, "My loyalty is to this workshop, master, and to its name and to you." Marie, tears welling in her eyes, confessed to her father how she had noticed the batch of thread was problematic, and how Antoine had simply been working with what he had been given. Master Pierre, seeing the truth, was deeply moved. He saw Antoine's profound loyalty, not just to him and the craft, but to Marie. This was not merely the loyalty of an apprentice to a master, but the deeper loyalty of a man protecting those he loved. Master Pierre knew he had to address this with the Tailors' Guild. Called a special meeting not to accuse the Countess but to praise Antoine's character. He explained the situation, emphasizing the near imperceptible flaw in the rare thread the Countess's rigid expectations, and Antoine's selfless act of taking the blame. He spoke of Antoine's deep loyalty, not just to the workshop, but to the very integrity of the guild's reputation. He also, in a subtle but clear way, highlighted Marie's integral role in the workshop's success, and her own dedication to quality. The guild elders listened intently. They understood the delicate dance with noble clients and the importance of preserving their good name. They were impressed by Antoine's sacrifice and Master Pierre's honesty. They recognized that Antoine's loyalty, though expressed in an unconventional way, had saved the guild from a potential public relations disaster. In an extraordinary move, the guild decided to shorten Antoine's apprenticeship, allowing him to become a journeyman ahead of schedule. They recognized that his character and skill had already proven him worthy of advancement, and his selfless act demonstrated a maturity beyond his years. Furthermore, Master Pierre, now fully understanding the depth of Antoine and Marie's feelings and recognizing Antoine's unwavering devotion, gave his blessing to their courtship. He arranged for Antoine to stay on as a journeyman in his shop. A clear path to mastership now visible. Tailor's Guild, by acknowledging Antoine's loyalty and Master Pierre's integrity, had reinforced its own values. The story of the tailor's tangled threads became a quiet legend in Paris, a testament to how true loyalty, whether to a craft, a family, or a loved one, could weave a stronger, more enduring fabric than any silk, even when the threads seemed to tangle. Number 7. The Brewer's Bitter Brew. Cologne in the year 1395 was a thriving Hanseatic city, its prosperity buoyed by its famed breweries. The air often carried the yeasty scent of fermenting malt. The Brewers' Guild was one of the most respected and regulated guilds in the city, fiercely guarding the purity of its ale. Master Heinrich, a portly man with a booming laugh and an encyclopedic knowledge of hops and barley, ran the Golden Goblet Brewery, a place renowned for its potent, clear ale. His apprentice, a bright young man named Karl, was diligent and dedicated, eager to learn every secret of the brewer's art. Karl had traveled from a smaller town, hoping to establish himself in the bustling city, and his loyalty to Master Heinrich and the guild was unwavering. The Brewers' Guild of Cologne was known for its strict purity laws, especially the Reinheitsgebot, though a formal widespread law was later, the spirit of it existed, ensuring that ale was made only from water, malt, and hops. Any deviation was met with severe penalties, including fines, expulsion from the guild, or even public shaming. The guild's reputation was built on the quality and consistency of its brew, and this reputation was vital for the city's trade. Guild members were expected to report any breaches of quality, and internal disputes were often resolved through careful tasting and examination by the guild masters. This collective oversight ensured that consumers could trust the purity of Cologne's ale. Master Heinrich had a niece, Lena, a spirited young woman with a sharp mind and an unusual interest in the brewing process. She often helped her uncle with tasks around the brewery, from cleaning casks to grinding malt, her laughter echoing through the cavernous brew house. Karl found himself drawn to her quick wit and her unexpected passion for the craft. Their shared hours in the warmth and aroma of the brewery, discussing the subtle notes of different hops and the mysteries of fermentation, quickly blossomed into a tender, secret affection. Their love, however, was a problem. Karl was still an apprentice, and Lena, though related to the master, was not part of the brewing trade's formal structure. Guild traditions often discouraged apprentices from serious romantic entanglements, expecting them to focus solely on their craft until they became journeymen. One scorching summer, a heat wave settled over Cologne, making brewing particularly challenging. The high temperatures made it difficult to control fermentation, leading to a risk of spoiled batches. A rival brewer, Master Albrecht, whose brewery was just down the street, began selling unusually cheap ale. Customers seeking relief from the heat flocked to Albrecht's stall, drawn by the low prices. Master Heinrich, known for his integrity, refused to compromise his ale's quality, even if it meant fewer sales. He knew Albrecht was cutting corners, probably using cheaper, lower quality ingredients, or adulterating his brew, but he couldn't prove it. The guild, observing Albrecht's sudden popularity, grew suspicious. They suspected a breach of the purity laws, a direct threat to the integrity of Cologne's brewing industry. One sweltering afternoon, Karl was delivering a fresh batch of ale to a tavern when he overheard a hushed conversation. Two of Albrecht's journeymen were complaining about a bitter aftertaste in their latest brew, even though Albrecht had claimed it was their new improved recipe. Karl's brewer's instincts tingled. A bitter aftertaste, especially one that lingered, could be a sign of an unauthorized additive, perhaps cheaper herbs, or even a form of preservative to combat the heat-induced spoilage. He knew Albrecht was pushing the limits of quality control, and this new bitter taste was a red flag to his brewing knowledge. He felt a deep sense of loyalty to Master Heinrich and to the purity of Cologne's ale, a purity that was the very foundation of the guild. He returned to the Golden Goblet and confessed his suspicions to Master Heinrich, who immediately shared his concerns with the guild elders. The guild, already wary of Albrecht, decided to conduct a discreet investigation. They commissioned a few impartial citizens to purchase Albrecht's ale and bring it for testing by a panel of master brewers. The verdict was swift and damning. Albrecht's ale contained unapproved herbs and a chemical additive designed to prevent spoilage in the heat, but which left a distinct, unpleasant aftertaste and could potentially be harmful. It was a clear violation of the guild's strict purity laws and a grave betrayal of the public's trust. The Brewers' Guild called Albrecht to account. He vehemently denied the accusations, claiming the tests were rigged and that his accusers were simply jealous. He demanded to know who had initiated the investigation. Master Heinrich, driven by his loyalty to the guild and to the consumers, stepped forward and stated that the suspicion had arisen from an observation by his apprentice Karl. This put Karl directly in the spotlight, exposing him to Albrecht's wrath and potential retaliation. It was a risky move, but Master Heinrich believed that truth and loyalty to the guild's principles were paramount. Albrecht, enraged, publicly accused Karl of spying and fabricating evidence. He also, in a fit of pique, revealed the rumors of Karl's affection for Lena, attempting to discredit Karl by implying his motives were personal rather than professional. Their guild. This public revelation of their secret love was humiliating for Karl and Lena, who both blushed furiously. The guild elders were now faced with a complex situation: a clear violation of brewing laws, a public accusation of slander, and the inconvenient truth of an apprentice's forbidden affection for his master's niece. The guild had strict rules against insubordination and personal scandal that could reflect poorly on the craft. Karl, though mortified, stood firm. He reiterated his observations, calmly describing the telltale bitter aftertaste and the conditions that made such additives likely. Lena, showing remarkable courage, stepped forward and confirmed that she had also noted the unusual taste in Albrecht's ale samples, having a refined palate from her years around the brewery. Her loyalty to Karl and to the truth spurred her to speak out, even knowing the social implications. The guild elders, after a thorough review of the evidence and testimony, found Albrecht guilty of adulterating his ale. He was stripped of his mastership, his brewery was closed, and he was expelled from the guild, a devastating punishment that effectively ended his career in Cologne. As for Karl and Lena, the guild chose a surprising path. While they acknowledged the impropriety of their secret courtship, they recognized that Karl's loyalty to the purity of ale and Lena's honest corroboration had been instrumental principles. Their actions had benefited the entire city, not just Master Heinrich's brewery. In a rare public decree, the Brewers' Guild commended Karl for his integrity and loyalty to the craft. They decided to shorten his apprenticeship and quickly elevate him to journeyman status, citing his exceptional skill and unwavering moral compass. Furthermore, they gave Master Heinrich their blessing to arrange a formal courtship between Karl and Lena, implicitly acknowledging that their love had unexpectedly served the guild's greater good. The guild, by showing flexibility in its social rules, strengthened its core purpose: the delivery of pure, honest ale. The tale of the brewer's bitter brew became a cherished story in Cologne, whispered among brewers as a testament to the fact that true loyalty, whether to a loved one or to the purity of one's craft, always yielded the finest results, ensuring that the reputation of Cologne's ale rebrewed. Carl and Lena continued to work side by side at the Golden Goblet, their shared love and loyalty now a celebrated part of the brewery's legacy. Their bond as strong as the finest ale. Number 8. The Carpenter's Last Beam. London, in the year 1420, was recovering from a devastating fire that had swept through its wooden structures years prior, leading to a new boom in carpentry and construction. Carpenters' Guild was thriving, its members busy rebuilding and expanding the city. Master Edmund, a gruff but kind-hearted man whose hands had shaped countless homes and halls, ran a modest but respected workshop. He had a widowed daughter, Eleanor, who lived with him, her spirit gentle but resilient. His apprentice, young Robert, was an orphan, taken in by Edmund years ago. Robert viewed Master Edmund not just as his master, but as the only father figure he had ever known, and his loyalty to the old carpenter was boundless. Carpenters' Guild of London had a strong welfare system, especially for its members and their families in times of hardship. They maintained a common fund, providing support for sick masters, aid for widows and orphans of guild members, and assistance during times of economic distress. Guild rules also dictated quality of timber, structural integrity, and fair wages, ensuring the high standards of London carpentry. Apprentices were expected to demonstrate absolute loyalty and obedience to their masters, reflecting the deeply personal bond formed through years of shared labor. The Guild's emphasis was on collective support and mutual aid, a vital safety net in a harsh world. Eleanor, Master Edmund's daughter, was a quiet woman, but she possessed a sharp wit and a practical mind. She often helped her father with the workshop's accounts, meticulously tracking timber supplies and wages. Robert, working long hours beside Master Edmund, found himself increasingly aware of Eleanor's gentle strength and her quiet sorrow. He saw the way she cared for her aging father, and a deep protective affection began to grow within him. He loved her not with grand declarations, but with quiet acts of consideration, ensuring a warm meal was ready after a long day, fetching extra water, or simply sharing a moment of silence with her as they watched the sunset over the city. Their affection was unspoken, a quiet understanding rooted in shared hardship and mutual respect. One harsh winter, Master Edmund fell gravely ill. Persistent cough racked his body, and soon he was too weak to even lift his tools. The doctor, a learned man from St. Bartholomew's Hospital, grimly predicted that the master might not recover, or if he did, he would be too frail to work again. This was a catastrophe for the workshop. Without Master Edmund's skill and reputation, commissions dwindled. Robert, though a skilled apprentice, was not yet a journeyman, let alone a master, and could not legally take on the master's role or sign contracts. Unbefexters arm. The guild's welfare system was there, but its support was often limited, designed more for temporary relief than long-term sustainment of a master's business. Eleanor, distraught, tried to manage the workshop's affairs, but the future seemed bleak. Robert worked tirelessly, trying to keep the workshop running, accepting small repair jobs, anything to keep a trickle of coin coming in. He knew that if Master Edmund passed Eleanor as a widow and a woman, would have little recourse. Her position would be precarious. His love for Eleanor and his deep loyalty to Master Edmund, the man who had given him a home and a trade, compelled him to act. He was determined to protect them both. One afternoon, as Master Edmund lay frail in his bed, the city's mayor, Master John of Whittington, a famed former mayor of London, sent word. He required a complex, specially designed wooden beam for the reconstruction of a crucial bridge. The beam was to be the centerpiece of the new structure, a testament to London's resurgence. Master John specifically requested Master Edmund, renowned for his expertise with large timber constructions. This was a huge commission, a lifeline for the workshop, but Master Edmund was too ill to even oversee it, let alone craft it. Eleanor read the mayor's letter, her heart sinking. It was an opportunity they could not afford to lose, yet could not fulfill. Robert, overhearing the conversation, saw a desperate chance. He had meticulously studied Master Edmund's designs for such beams, had often helped prepare the timber, and knew the master's methods intimately. He also knew Master Edmund's secret measurements, the tiny personal marks he made on the wood before cutting. Details that were known only to master and most trusted apprentice. He felt a powerful surge of loyalty, a need to repay the kindness shown to him. Robert approached Eleanor. "Let me do it," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "I can craft the beam. I have watched Master Edmund for years. I know his hand, his measurements. I will do it as if he himself shaped it." Eleanor looked at him, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. It was an audacious proposal. An apprentice crafting such a crucial piece was unheard of, a direct breach of guild rules regarding authority and responsibility. The guild would punish any apprentice who presumed to take on a master's work, but their desperation was deep. If they refused the mayor, the workshop was doomed. If Robert failed, their disgrace would be complete. Eleanor, putting her trust in Robert's unwavering loyalty and skill, made a difficult decision. "Then you must do it as Master Edmund's work," she whispered, "as if his hands still guide yours." For days, Robert worked tirelessly in the cold workshop. He chose the timber with care, his hands moving with precision, remembering every lesson Master Edmund had taught him. He worked alone, silently, except for the rhythmic rasp of his adze and the occasional sigh of the wind. He even incorporated Master Edmund's secret, almost invisible personal marks onto the beam, a silent tribute to his master. He was driven by a profound loyalty to the man who had been his father, and a quiet, steadfast love for Eleanor and a home they shared. Finally, the beam was finished, a magnificent piece of carpentry, perfect in its dimensions and strength. It was heavy, a challenge for the carters to transport, but its beauty and structural integrity were undeniable. Eleanor, inspecting it, saw Master Edmund's hand in every curve and joint. It was a testament to Robert's skill, yes, but also to his profound devotion. The beam was delivered to the bridge site. The mayor himself inspected it, marveling at its craftsmanship. He declared it perfect, a credit to Master Edmund's renowned skill, and ordered the full payment. The guild elders, however, eventually heard whispers about Master Edmund's illness and the mystery of who had truly crafted the beam. They launched an inquiry. Robert, when questioned, simply stated that he had worked under Master Edmund's direct instruction and supervision, honoring the letter of the agreement while preserving the illusion of his master's active involvement. Eleanor corroborated the story, her loyalty to Robert unyielding. The guild, unable to find direct evidence of deceit, and seeing the magnificent beam standing proud in the new bridge, had to accept the explanation. They were, however, deeply impressed by the quality of the work and the apprentice's evident skill. Master Edmund, slowly recovering his strength, eventually learned the full truth. He looked at Robert, his eyes filled with gratitude and a quiet pride. He saw not just a skilled apprentice, but a true son, a man whose loyalty and love had saved his workshop and protected his daughter. Master Edmund, now seeing Robert's future clearly, made an unprecedented request to the Carpenters Guild. Petitioned for Robert to be immediately elevated to journeyman and within a year to be granted mastership. A swift progression almost unheard of. He argued that Robert's skill, his deep understanding of the craft and his unwavering loyalty, had already proven him worthy. The guild, swayed by the evidence of the magnificent bridge beam and Master Edmund's personal plea, agreed. Robert, now a master, continued to run Master Edmund's workshop, carrying on the legacy. He and Eleanor, their love now openly acknowledged, built a future together. Their bond strengthened by shared hardship and quiet acts of devotion. The story of the carpenter's last beam became a legend in London, a testament to the fact that loyalty and love, sometimes silent and unseen, could shape not only wooden beams, but also the very foundations of a family and a future.